All right, welcome pre-calc. Welcome back. Let us go through this lesson of lines and slope. And what does it mean for two lines to be parallel? Also, what does it mean for two lines to be perpendicular? So we'll go through the basics of slope, and then we'll get to more advanced topics within it. So here, please have this in your notes. Pause the video, right? So here, the simplest mathematical model for relating two variables is a linear equation of two variables. So we have y equals mx plus b, and this is the equation of a straight line, right? So here, the m value calculates our slope, and the b value is our y-intercept. So this seems very basic at first, but hopefully once we get to parallel and perpendicular lines, this idea of slope will be a little bit better for us. So here, the slope of a non-vertical line is the number of units the line rises or falls vertically for each unit of the horizontal change from left to right. So what on earth are we talking about over here? Let's take a look at this diagram. If I have some equation of y equals mx plus b, this b is our y-intercept. So if this is the y-axis over here, this is the x-axis over here, where the line crosses the y-axis will be represented by b. So this point would be 0, b, and it could be positive or negative, right? And the idea of slope is for every 1 unit I go to my right, how many units up or how many units down does the slope change? And here, notice that this will be a positive slope because from left to right, the graph is increasing, and from here, left to right, the graph is decreasing. So this would have a negative slope, okay? And the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, finding the slope of a line, if we have the equation of a line in slope-intercept form, our m indicates the slope of the line, right? Okay, so here, let's go to the next part. If you are not given the equation of a line, we can find, oh, sorry, let me zoom out, my bad. Please have this in your notes before we begin. Just this over here, the diagram, and this part over here, right? If you are not given the equation of a line, we can find the slope of the line if we have 2 points. So here, let's take a look at this line over here. And the idea is this is some line we have. This point over here is some x sub 1, y sub 1. And this point over here, right? What would be this point? It would be x sub 2 and y sub 2. And then here, how would we find the slope, or geometrically, what does the slope look like from here to here, right? So here, notice that we're creating this triangle. And how would you label or describe what this line, what would it be, or how do we calculate it? You would have it as x sub 2 minus x sub 1, because you're finding the distance from here to here. And then how would I find the distance from here to here? You would have y sub 2 minus y sub 1, and you make sure to take the absolute value because distance would be positive, right? So given this ratio of y sub 2 minus y sub 1 to x sub 2 minus x sub 1, this represents a slope that passes through the points la 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 la. So two given points. So to find slope, we have y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So hopefully you have seen this in a previous math class, or we have some idea of slope. I'm pretty sure you have if you are in this course, but for the most part I still have to review it. So the idea for this part is take your time and have this down. And what I would like you to do is find, let me move this. Let me put this over here. Here are 4 examples of what I'd like you to do is find the slope of the line passing through each pair of points, right? So here we have 2 points on this graph, 2 points on this graph, 2 points here, and 2 points here. What I'd like you to do is find the slope of the line that connects these 2 points, right? And before you actually draw the visual diagram, or what should I say? Predict how you think the line should be. So like whatever you get for your m value of your slope between these 2 lines, predict how the line should be, or how the points will be represented, right? Can you predict the visual before you graph and draw the line, right? So take your time, pause the video, find the slope for these 2 points, for these 2 points, for these 2 points, and these 2 points. And then once you get the slope, predict what you think the graph should look like, okay? All right, so here, we could do each one together, right? So let's say you pause the video and you want to see how it's done. Let's take a look over here. So for this one, here the way you should do it is you label your points. This is my x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, right? This is my first point, and this is my second point. And how do you read this? Maybe I should have said this before. This is x sub 1. So this 1 over here, or if I have some x sub n, this is a subscript. So it's just how you say the value, right? Okay, so here, let's see. So this is x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. So m equals, right? So here my y sub 2 is 1 minus 0 over 3 minus, what is my x sub 1? Minus 2. Right, so this should be 1 over 3 plus 2, which is 1 over 5. Okay. So now here, what do you think the graph of this, what would it look like? Or how would the line look like if I have some positive slope, right? So positive slope. Here, what would the graph look like? Negative 2 comma 0 is over here. 3 comma 1 is over here. When I connect the line, notice that our slope is positive, and it's not very high. It's not going by that much, right? And so notice that from left to right, the graph or the line is increasing, so our slope is positive. Okay. What about for this one over here? If I have same idea, I label my points, x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. So then here, m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1, right? This will be negative 1 minus 4 over 1 minus 0. So this would be negative 1. Negative 5 over 1. Wait, sorry class, give me 1 second. I need to pause the video. This is just negative 5. So our m value is negative 5. Right? And then visually, what should our line look like if you know the slope is negative? Right? So here we have 0 comma 4 is over here, 1 negative 1 is over here. Notice your line has to look something like this. Notice that from left to right, our graph or line is decreasing, so that's implied with our negative slope. Okay. Yeah, all right, so let's take a look at this one here. X sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. So then I have this will be 2 minus 2 over 8 minus 5. So notice that this is 0 over 3, which is equal to 0. So what does it mean to have a slope of 0? What did you think? A slope of 0 will imply that the line is horizontal. Right? So here, if we have this point, 5 comma 2 is over here, 8 comma 2 is over here. this line over here has no slope. There is no rise over run. Okay, so if I have a slope of 0, the line will be horizontal. Let's take a look at this example. So this should be 1 minus 4 over 3 minus 3. So this is negative 3 over 0. So careful. If I take any number, if I take 0 and I divide it by any number, we have 0. But you're not allowed to take a number and divide it by 0. Later in the course, when we talk about limits, I could give a nice explanation of why. But for now, let's just agree that we can't divide by 0. So this will be undefined. So here we have a slope that is undefined. So what does that mean visually? So where is this point 3 comma 4? It is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is one of the points, and 3 comma 1 is over here. So notice, what does my line look like? Here we have a vertical line. Here you have an infinite slope, or like the idea is it's not defined. Like the line just keeps going up. There is no rise over run. It just runs. It just rises. It just rises up. So here, if I have a slope that's undefined, the line must be vertical. Okay, great job. So let's continue on. Here, let's take a look here. Let's take a look here. This page we did. Okay, yeah, this one here. So here, writing, this you can't see, but this says writing linear equations in 2 variables. So if, do me a favor, please have this in your notes before we begin, right? Pause the video, have this in your notes. If x sub 1, y sub 1 is a point on a line, and we have a slope of m, and x sub 1, and x comma y is any other point on the line, then this is our formula for slope, and here is the point slope formula. Point slope formula. So what on earth does this equation imply? It basically says, give me a point. Here, let me write this down. Let me zoom in a little bit. Give me a point, give me a slope. We can create the equation of a line that passes through that point with that given slope. So here, if I had, for example, it's saying find the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line that passes, that has a slope of 3 and passes through the point of 1, negative 2. The idea is, if I were to have, let's see, where is 1, negative 2? It is 1, negative 2. This is my point. And what does a slope of 3 look like? It looks it's some positive slope that looks like this. So the idea with this equation, or this point slope formula, if you have a point, which is some x sub 1, y sub 1, and this line has a slope, right? The slope of this line is 3. The idea of what we want to do is, we want to find the equation of this line, right? Because the line is represented as y equals mx plus b. And what this point slope formula does, it says, give me a point, which is x sub 1, y sub 1, give me a slope, and it creates the equation of the line. Okay? So let's take a look at how we could do this. Right? So let me get my black pen. It's all right. So here, if I have y minus y sub 1 is equal to m times x minus x sub 1, our game plan right now is we're finding the equation of this line. This line, the point of this line is 1 comma negative 2, right? This is a point on the line. So I know my x sub 1 is 1, my y sub 1 is negative 2, and I know my m is 3. We have the point, we have the slope. Now let's create the equation of the line. So here we just substitute these values in. So we have y minus, what is my y sub 1, parentheses negative 2 equals 3 times x minus 1. Okay. Now what I would like you to do is try and pause the video and have this equation be in the form of y equals mx plus b. Okay. Let's see. Let's say you pause the video when you want to see it. Just make sure this is y plus 2 equals 3 times x minus 1. So y plus 2, let's distribute the 3, right? So this is 3x minus 3. And now what am I going to do? I'm going to subtract 2, subtract 2. So I have y equals 3x minus 5. What does this equation represent? It represents a line that passes through this point of 1, negative 2, and it has a slope of 3. Right? Notice that slope of 3 is here. Okay? Very nice. All right. One final part, then we'll be done for this lesson. Here, take a second and have this in your notes. This is the final part, parallel and perpendicular lines. The slope will be really important for understanding this concept. But the idea of parallel lines is if I have two distinct non-vertical lines, they are parallel if and only if their slopes are equal. So that idea of parallel lines, the idea is, you know, they never intersect. Right? These two lines will never intersect each other from negative infinity to positive infinity. But what is a property about these lines that make them never intersect with each other? They don't have the same y-intercept, and they have the same slope. So whatever the slope of this line is, if the slope of this line is m sub 1, the slope of this line is m sub 2, you know the slopes have to be equal to each other for parallel lines. For perpendicular lines, and what does it mean to be perpendicular? When two non-vertical lines are perpendicular, if and only if their slopes are negative reciprocals of each other. So what that basically means is, like, let's say the slope of this line, for example, is, let's say the slope of this line over here, let's say this slope is 2, right? Notice it's a positive slope. What does the slope of this line have to be? It has to be negative 1/2. Okay? They are negative reciprocals of one another. And what does it mean to create a perpendicular, to have perpendicular lines? When the lines intersect each other at one point, it creates a 90-degree angle. Right? And if you were to do this, 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 90, you get 360. Right? So you know two lines are perpendicular if they are negative reciprocals of one another. So I'll explain this one a little bit more. So here, hopefully you have this in your notes, right? Let's take a look at this example over here. And this is the final example for this lesson. Here. Okay. It says, find the equation of a line that passes through the point 2, negative 1, and are parallel to and perpendicular to this equation of 2x minus 3y equals 5. Okay. So here, visually, what are we trying to find? We know that this graph of 2x minus 3y equals 5, this has a graph. So first, let's see what this graph looks like. Or how can I put this into y equals mx plus b? All right. So let's say if I have 2x minus 3y equals 5. Right? Take a second and get this equation to have y by itself. So it's in this form, right? Pause the video and take your time. How would how would I get this as y by itself, right? So first I want y by itself. So first let me subtract 2x, subtract 2x. So now here I have negative 3y is equal to, I could say 5 minus 2x, but notice I want the mx on the left side, so I'm going to show it as negative 2x plus 5, right? Now let us divide negative 3, divide negative 3. And now here I have y equals 2x over 3 minus 5 over 3. Okay? If you want, let me break that step down a little bit further for you. Because when you divide negative 3 on both sides, you're really getting y is equal to negative 2x plus 5 divided by negative 3. But then you're dividing this part by negative 3, and you're also dividing this part by negative 3. So what's negative 2 divided by negative 3? That is positive 2/3 x. And then this is positive divided by negative is minus 5 over 3. Okay? So we have that here. The idea is you have this line. This line, let's say the line looks like this. Okay? This line is y equals 2x over 3 minus 5 over 3. What we want to do is we want to find a line that is parallel to this line, but it also intersects the point of 2, negative 1. So where is 2, negative 1? It should be somewhere here, right? This is 2, negative 1. So we want to find a line that passes through this point and is parallel to this line. And we also want to find a line that this is the first line we want to find, right? This is parallel. And now we also want to find another line that hits this point, but is also perpendicular to the original line over here. That is our game plan. We want to find a line parallel to this line, but it also hits this point. And we also want to find a line that is perpendicular to this line, but it also hits that point of 2, negative 1. So then how do we do it? Yeah, how do we do it? The idea here is, if you know this, what do we know about this line? The slope of this line. We know, so here, we know the slope of this line, or what is the slope of this line? Right here, this line here, the y equals 2x over 3 minus 5 over 3. What is the slope of this line? Y is equal to 2 over 3, right? So if you know the slope of this line over here is 2 over 3, what has to be the slope of the line that is parallel to this line? It also has to be 2 over 3, right? Because for these two lines to be parallel, they have to have the same slope. And notice, what is the point that you want this line to intersect? You want it to intersect at 2, negative 1. Right? So now here, what are you given? You're given a point, you're given a slope. So what can we use to create the equation of a line? We can use this, y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. What does the point slope formula do? Remember, if you give it a point, you give it a slope, it creates the equation of the line. And that's what we want to do. You want to create the equation of this line that is parallel to the line of 2x over 3 minus 5 over 3, which is this one. Okay? So let's do it. Let's create the line. Here, y, do I have my m? I do. This is my x sub 1. This is my y sub 1, right? Now we just plug in these values into here. If you want, pause the video, try it for yourself. Right? Here, this is going to be, actually class, sorry, give me 1 second. I need to pause the video. I'll be right back. Here, what is my y sub 1? It is negative 1, so it's going to be y minus a negative 1 equals my m is 2 over 3 times x minus 2. Okay, then what do we do? negative times a negative, this is y plus 1 equals 2/3 x minus 2. So this y plus 1, nothing we can do here. Now we need to distribute. Right? Got to distribute the 2/3 to the x and the 2/3 to the negative 2. So this becomes 2x over 3. And let's take our time. What is 2/3 times negative 2? Right? How do I take a fraction, multiply it to... Oh, sorry, the resolution got weird. That is better. Okay. How do I take a fraction, multiply it to a whole number? This is 2/3 times negative 2. Just put this over 1. And 2 times negative 2 is negative 4 over 3 times 1 is 3. That's it. And we can't simplify this. So negative 4 over 3. Great. Now, you almost have y by itself. You need to subtract 1 on both sides. So I need to subtract 1 here, and I need to subtract 1 here. So notice this stays as y is here. This cancels, equals 2x over 3. Now be patient. How do you take negative 4 over 3 minus 1? Right? Negative 4 over 3, you want to create, you want 1, sorry, you want 1 to equal 3 over 3. Because you want, when you subtract fractions, you want them to have the same denominator. So you're changing the 1, like 1 is equal to, oops, sorry, 1 is equal to 3 over 3. So yeah, like let's say if this denominator was 2, for example, then I would want to change the 1 as 2 over 2. Okay. So then what would this be? This is negative 7 over 3. And, oh yeah, this part here, negative 7 over 3. And that's it. Right. This is the equation, and be patient if you want. What does this equation represent, right? This equation represents the line that is parallel to this line, right? This line here is in the black. This line over here is the red. This line is parallel to this line because they have the same slope of 2 over 3. And also it's intersecting the point of 2, negative 1. And this is it. Okay. Visually, let's take a look on the calculator just to make sure. Y equals, I put this, what was this? Ah yeah, this was the first graph, the first equation here. This is the second one here. Notice when I hit graph, these two lines intersect, and also, I'm sorry, they don't intersect, they're parallel. And the red line over here intersects the point of 2, negative 1. Okay. Now, what do we need to do? We need to find that line that is perpendicular. What is the equation of this blue line? Okay, so here, notice, what did we do for this problem? Like, imagine if you were like a bandit, right? And if you had, and this is the bank or something. I know this sounds really corny. If there's one thing you want to take and steal, it's the slope. The slope is what you want. Because if you know the slope of this line, then you know the slope of the line that is parallel. Okay, so imagine you're at the bank and you rob the slope. How do you know if the slope of this line over here is 2 over 3? What has to be the slope of this line here? What you're doing is you're taking the reciprocal and just making it negative. The slope of this line over here is negative 3 over 2. And then what we want to do is we want to do the same thing we did over here. We use the point slope formula, but now we're going to use this slope and this point. So let me get a new piece of paper. This is, you can't see, we have y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. Now here our slope is negative 3 over 2 and our point is 2 comma negative 1. Pause the video, try and create that equation. Try and create the equation of the line. Y minus, let's say you pause the video and you want to see it, y minus 1 equals negative 3 over 2 times x minus 2. So y plus 1 equals negative 3 over 2 times x. And then what is negative 3 over 2? Because we're doing this times this, and we're also doing this times this. What is negative 3 times negative 2? Right? Put this over 1. This is 6. Negative 3 times negative 2 is 6. 2 times 1, 2, 3. So this should be a positive 3. Right? Minus 1 minus 1. Y is equal to negative 3 over 2x plus 2. This is the line that is perpendicular to this original line that also intersects that point of 2, negative 1. Let's just take a look in the calculator. I do this, I go to y equals, let me put this in. And then voila. See how it looks a little off, but this line is perpendicular. Wait, hold on. I just want to make sure I didn't make a mistake. Did I? It doesn't look perpendicular. No, I didn't make a mistake. It doesn't look perpendicular, but it creates that 90-degree angle. Okay? All right, everyone. Wow, 32 minutes. I didn't think this would take that long, but hopefully you enjoyed this lesson. Here I have problem set number 2 and the Delta Math homework for you. And you will practice some questions like this and with slope. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. I'll see you in class.